Inc. magazine just released its Higher Power list for 2013, spotlighting 100 businesses that are creating jobs and putting Americans back to work, even in this slow economy. Thanks so much for joining me.
My pleasure, Gabrielle.
Eric, as editor-in-chief of Inc. magazine, you oversee the Higher Power Awards. What sort of trends did you notice this year?
Well, one thing we noticed, first of all, was that companies that are growing, companies that have found a niche in the economy, companies that have, identified that area where they can really contribute, are hiring. So they are the ones, despite the slow growth that you're seeing in payroll across the country, the Higher Power Award winners are still growing. So it may be a sluggish recovery, but not for these companies.
Are there any trends that you're seeing geographically?
The California and the Northeast are where all the hiring is.
That's so interesting to me, given that those are two regions where taxes are known to be a little more aggressive.
Well, I think that when you are growing, you're not stopping to think, well, am I going to accept this extra revenue and worry about giving a lot of it back to the government? No, if you're going to grow, you're going to grow. And, speaking of how hard it is to find really qualified people, they tend to be clustered in places like New York and Boston and in California, particularly in Silicon Valley.
Court, your company Yodle was named the top-ranked company in New York City. Tell me more about what you're doing.
Yeah, Yodle's really benefited from a secular shift from offline advertising in print newspaper and yellow pages to online advertising, Facebook, Google, websites, mobile websites, and we're helping the small business owner navigate that shift. And as a result, we've seen tremendous growth.
According to the rankings, you've added hundreds of positions over the past 18 months.
Yep.
What's that like?
It's both exciting and scary at the same time. When I joined Yodle, we were 11 employees. Today, we're almost 1,200 employees over 5.5 years. And it's exciting for all the obvious reasons. It's scary because our culture is a big part of what differentiates us. We have fun at work, but we have a commitment to excellence, and finding people who share that culture is hard. And you just get nervous that the culture is going to get diluted because you hire too quickly. And you see this in the case of, I think, Groupon had that problem. I think AOL back in the day had that problem. And so you've got to be very careful about making sure that you're hiring the right people, not just getting bodies in the door to satisfy the short-term growth need.
With offices around the country, I'm sure you get a sense of what the local economy is like in each of the various states.
Yeah.
Are you noticing any trends on your part?
No, I mean, in terms of, we're in mostly growth markets, so Phoenix, Austin, and Charlotte, and Atlanta, so all of those have done relatively well. But it is funny, we serve small businesses who are the bellwether of the economy. And back in 2008, before Lehman collapsed, everyone was talking about how the economy was booming, and small businesses were starting to feel it. A lot of the construction was starting to slow down. A lot of our customers are in construction and home services. And similarly, when the uptick happened in 2010, people were celebrating, and our small business customers weren't feeling it. The good news is now they actually are feeling it, and there's I think a real sense of optimism in our customer base.
That is really good news. Eric, what do you see as the major barriers to growth right now?
Oh, I think one of the major barriers to growth is lack of talent. And an example of a company that is, first of all, in a growth market that attracts a lot of people, but I think it would be harder for Yodle to grow, especially to grow its workforce as dramatically as it has in a smaller market where there wasn't the kind of engineering and skilled talent. I think that unfortunately, is a limit on the rate of growth that small companies can achieve. Another problem is money. Financing has picked up for across the board, and the stock market is booming, and so forth. And interest rates are low if you're a big company issuing bonds. But if you're a small company, banks, I think, particularly small banks, haven't quite got into the lending mood. They're still a little risk averse, and the money just isn't there for small companies the way we wish it was at Inc.
Anecdotally, so many of the workers who are out of a job right now say that they feel that they're being penalized because of their age. Do you get that sense that these fast growth companies are a little bit ageist, maybe?
I think ageism is a real factor in the workforce, for sure. And another factor that we're all aware of is that if you've been out of work for 6 months or so, it's much harder to get back in. But skills atrophy, there is probably discrimination against older people, thinking that you don't have the skills, or you're going to be sick, or you're going to be more costly, or things like that. But these are not problems that cannot be fixed, and they would be fixed by a more robust recovery.
Thank you so much for joining me here today.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
For FoxBusiness.com, I'm Gabrielle Carroll.